Alright guys, so this is another very important video that I am making for you, real quick. So porn has no dopamine, okay? Now, whenever I am coaching people, the biggest thing that my students realize is that porn actually has zero dopamine, okay? Right? Like dopamine is not something that is inherently inside of porn. That's what they actually realize, okay? Of course, they don't believe me whenever I'm coaching them. At first, they don't believe me, but because and why they don't believe me, because nofap has done a really great job at like brainwashing people into believing that, oh, dopamine, like a screen with some woman, a screen with the pixels with some woman on it, it gives you a lot of dopamine, it gives you so much dopamine that you cannot even escape it, right? So the thing is, when people actually believe in those things, when actually people believe in that lie so much, it becomes their self-fulfilling prophecy. Self-fulfilling prophecy means that basically when you believe in a lie so much, so strongly, when you believe in a lie so strongly, you basically it becomes your reality, okay? Like you act according to that. So what you need to understand is that once you realize that what is actually dopamine, and once you truly realize with understanding that porn actually has no dopamine, then you can actually and once you truly realize that you are not actually a slave to porn because of dopamine, okay? But instead you choose to, and it's extremely easy to choose not to be a court slave to porn, okay? Right? So once you, this is gonna be another very important video, right? And you make sure to be very open-minded, okay? Alright guys, so let's first understand that what is actually dopamine, right? So what dopamine truly is, let's first understand this, okay? Dopamine is simply the anticipation for a reward. Now what does that mean? Anticipation simply means motivation to get a certain reward. That's it. Dopamine is simply the anticipation for a reward. Anticipation simply means a motivation to get a certain reward. It's simply a motivation for getting some kind of reward, okay? That is what dopamine is. So for example, let's say that if I tell you that, oh, you're gonna get a lot of pleasure, you're gonna get a lot of sexual relief, you're gonna get a lot of stress relief, you're gonna get a lot of pain relief, you're gonna get, you're gonna relieve your pain, you're gonna relieve your negative emotions, you're gonna feel so much good, right? So wouldn't you be motivated if, let's say, you are feeling very down? Like, wouldn't you be motivated to get that type of solution, right? Obviously you're gonna be so much motivated to get that type of solution. You're gonna be like, oh yeah, I need to relieve my negative emotions, I need to feel pleasure, right? I need that solution right now. So you need to understand that porn is simply a thing that you perceive benefits or rewards in it, and because of that you decide to go and watch porn, right? So but you need to understand, but what actually people understand, like what you need to understand, that rewards are not inherently inside of porn, but just like dopamine, okay? Dopamine doesn't comes from porn, that lifeless video in and of itself, but it simply comes from the motivation to get those rewards, whether it be pleasure, whether it be stress relief, whether it be sexual relief, whether it be pain relief, emotional relief, whatever, right? That's what dopamine actually is, okay? Just like, for example, let's say you are in a party, okay? And let's say you see a beef in front of you, and it looks very tasty. There is a beef on the table. won't you get won't you be motivated to go and eat that beef? Of course you will be. Like, you will get so much dopamine to go and eat that beef. Even before you eat that beef, you will get that release of dopamine in order to motivate you to go and get that beef, to go and eat that beef, right? You're gonna be motivated, right? You're gonna be motivated to get the rewards, which is simply the food, or to get the proteins, to get some fats, to get some proteins, or like energy for the next few days. Well, that's the perceived rewards, the perceived benefits, right? So you're gonna get dopamine because it's like, oh my god, man, this is gonna give me so much rewards. But if, let's say, you see a cow, let's say you see a real cow in front of you, right? You're not gonna see benefits in killing that cow for the food, whatever, right? Of course, there are some people who will get that dopamine from thinking like that, but some people, they might not even get dopamine by seeing a cow, right? Because they don't see any benefits in killing that cow for the sake of food, whatever, right? And so you're not gonna get any dopamine. But with the beef, with that beef, you're gonna get so much dopamine, because it's like, oh my god, it's gonna give me so much proteins, it's gonna give me so much fat, so much energy for the next few days, right? And yeah, let me go and eat that beef because I want to get those rewards, I want to get those benefits, right? And so you're gonna get that release of dopamine, which is simply a motivation to get those rewards, right? And you will get this rush of dopamine inside of you, like whatever. So what you guys need to understand, that it's not that beef that gives you dopamine, it's simply it's the benefits of eating that beef, it's simply the benefits of eating that beef. Now, right, this is one distinction to make, okay? When people in these nofap communities say that, oh, porn has dopamine, porn has this, porn has that, porn gives you so much dopamine and a lot of those things, bro, have you really done your own research? Have you really done your own research? No, you just have been told, you just have been listening to these authorities in the nofap space that, telling you that, oh man, you wish that you could quit porn, but there is so much dopamine in it and you cannot do anything about it. You see, that actually becomes their self-fulfilling prophecy. People actually believe it blindly, right? They actually believe it blindly, okay? They don't really question their beliefs. They don't actually question their beliefs, okay? Like, how do you know that porn inherently has dopamine inside it, right? So first of all, tell me where it's actually backed up with any research or science. Secondly, even if you do believe in this dopamine theory, right, that it is inside of porn, then tell me how how thinking like that is beneficial for you and in what ways, right? You will actually realize that not only it's simply a lie, but also it's not beneficial for you to think like that. It's actually doing the opposite for you, okay? The important component to leave behind porn and masturbation is simply realizing that porn has no dopamine, okay? Porn inherently, a lifeless video has no dopamine in it, okay? Right? Like, porn is simply you're literally watching a video of people having sex. It's simply a screen with pixels, right? So it's not it like porn inherently has no dopamine inside it. The screen with the pixels is not giving you dopamine, but rather it's your perception around that thing, okay? It's your perception about porn beforehand, right? So once you buy into this lie of nofap that, oh, porn gives you so much dopamine, porn has dopamine in it, right? You actually start realizing that you actually start believing in that myth so strongly that it becomes your self-fulfilling prophecy. And instead, if you just debunk this belief, if you eliminate this belief by understanding that how porn actually has no dopamine, you will actually realize that porn is simply a thing that is so much neutral, meaning that it's not like this magical miraculous thing that gives you a kind of good feeling and you feel on top of the world and you feel like you're reproducing with thousands of women. No. And it's not even this thing where it's like destroying your self confidence and you cannot even talk to any woman anymore. No, right? You just look at it for what it is. It's simply a screen with the pixels. It's simply a lifeless video of two people having sex. That's it, right? Like I told you in my last videos, I told you the concept about placebos, okay? So what you guys need to understand, like just like a placebo, most many studies have always proven that placebos have almost the same effect as a real drug, right? And what is placebo? If some of you don't know what placebo is, let me tell you what is actually placebo. So placebo is just like, for example, you can actually search about it on the Google. You can actually search about it on internet as well. So placebo is just like, for example, let's say if I'm having a pill, if I just create a pill for you guys, and let's say you're having a really strong pain in really strong headache, and I just give you a pill and I tell you that, oh, if you're gonna take that pill, take that tablet, then it's gonna relieve your pain, it's gonna relieve your headache, it's gonna make you feel better, whatever, right? And if let's say that pill contains nothing inside it, that is a fake pill that I'm giving you, right? But because I gave you that pill, so basically there was a study done in which there were two groups, there were two participants who were actually having a really strong pain in their head, so were having a really strong headache, okay? And for those two participants, the doctors created two pills for them, okay? So two pills for them. So one pill was the real one pill was the real one, whilst the other one was the fake one, meaning that one pill actually contained the all those substances that are beneficial for curing your headache, whatever, whilst the other pill, the other tablet, was just the fake one. It didn't contain anything in it but sugar, that's it, right? But because those two participants were told that these two pills were specially created for them to actually cure their headache, relieve their pain, and make them feel better for a few seconds, right? So what actually happened, that because they believed that those pills can actually relieve their headache, relieve their pain, guess what happened? Both of them, the results were extremely shocking. Both of them were able to relieve their headache, relieve their pain at almost the same level, right? So that's what we call the placebo effect, right? Once you believe in something so strongly, your mind is so powerful that it can create realistic physical scenarios in your own body, okay? Right? Your mind is so powerful that it can placebo effect something that is not real, right? So that's what placebo is, okay? So just like that, for example, if you believe that, oh, there is dopamine, there is sexual relief, there is stress relief, there is emotional relief in porn, then you are actually doing it to yourself. It's not the porn that's doing it to you. You are actually doing it to yourself. You are actually placebo creating those effects in your own mind, right? So for example, let me give you another example, okay? For example, this is a real life story, okay? I'm actually telling you. So there were a lot of girls who actually cut their body parts, who actually cut their arms, okay? Like I don't know specifically in Pakistan, but in many Western countries, in Europe countries, there are a lot of women, a lot of girls who actually, cut their own body parts, who actually, cut their arms whenever they are feeling stressed, whenever they are feeling bad, and they actually cut their own arms, they actually cut their own body parts in order to relieve their stress or relieve their negative emotions, okay? And for them, it's an activity that gives them a lot of pleasure. It's an activity that relieves their stress, right? It's an activity that relieve their negative emotions. It's an activity that makes them feel so much good, and for them it gives a lot of dopamine. Like, do you think that cutting your own body parts, cutting your arms, is an activity that is inherently pleasurable, or is it's an activity that inherently gives you dopamine? No. If somebody else look at that, if somebody else looks at that woman cutting his own arms and she's feeling extremely good, and she's like, she's relieving she's relieving her stress, he's gonna think that she's dumb, right? Okay, like, how is that actually giving you a lot of dopamine? You see? So what you guys need to understand, that dopamine is not inherently inside of that act in and of itself, but it's simply your perception. Dopamine is simply the anticipation or motivation to get the rewards, right? It's the perception around the rewards that you get from that activity, right? Those girls can get a lot of dopamine whilst cutting their own arms, cutting their body parts, you while somebody else might not get even any dopamine, and they might feel even weird and disgusting about it, right? You see, it's all about your perception. So the thing is, just use logic here, okay? Let's use logic. So if you believe that, oh, porn has so much dopamine, porn gives you so much dopamine whenever you watch it, let's just use logic, okay? So if dopamine is in porn, if dopamine is in the screen with the pixels, if the dopamine is inside of it, then, like, if you watch a music video, let's say, right? Let's say if you watch a music video, right, which apparently people say that it gives a lot of dopamine. So if you watch a music video of a song that you don't like, let's say if you watch a music video of a Korean music, okay? Let's say if you watch a Korean music video that you don't like to watch, okay? You know those BTS type of thing, those K-pop kind of music. So if you listen to that music video, that Korean music, if you watch that music video, right, would you really get dopamine from watching it? Like, would you really get dopamine? No. But if you listen to a song, but if you listen to any song that you like to watch, right? Yeah, maybe now you're gonna get a lot of dopamine, because you linked benefits to it. You have linked your preference, your personal meaning to it, okay? Like, think about it. Why don't you get dopamine from listening to Korean music, but you get a lot of dopamine from listening to, let's say, a hip hop music, right? Like, it's not like, think about it, both are the same thing, okay? Both are the music videos, but one is giving you no dopamine and the other one is giving you a lot of dopamine. Like, wouldn't music contain dopamine in it inherently? Like, it's not. So what you need to understand, that it's not that music that inherently has dopamine in it, right? But it's simply your own perception around that music, okay, that gives you dopamine, right? It's simply your own preference, it's simply your own mind, okay? So, and and let's give you even more, a very strong example to even make you more convinced on it, okay? Let's just use pure logic here, okay? So for example, homosexual porn, okay? So one question, I'm sure most of you guys don't watch homosexual porn, but still, would you get dopamine from watching gay porn, or like a very weird genre of porn that you believe is disgusting? No, right? It's like, you will feel disgusting about it. You don't get any dopamine when you watch, let's say, a homosexual porn, gay porn, or like a anime porn, or very weird genre of porn. No, instead you feel disgusting about it, right? You don't get any dopamine from it, right? So what you guys need to understand, whilst there is someone else, there is some other guy who is, let's say, a homosexual, right? Or some other guy who have built his preference for it, he might get a lot of dopamine watching that stuff. He might get a lot of dopamine, a lot of pleasure watching that gay porn or watching homosexual porn, whilst you might find it disgusting. You might get zero dopamine from it. right? So what you guys need to understand, that porn does not have the dopamine in it, but you created that dopamine based on your own perception in your own mind, okay, right? That's very important to understand. Because think about it, let me give you even more examples, okay, to make you convinced of it, okay, why porn has actually zero dopamine. Because once you understand this concept, you're gonna literally, it's gonna become effortless to leave behind porn, masturbation, whatever, okay. So what you guys need to understand that, for example, there are many people who get a lot of dopamine from eating healthy foods, whilst there are some other guys who get a lot of dopamine from eating junk foods, right? So many people, there are many guys who eat healthy foods and they get a lot of dopamine from it, they actually feel pleasurable about it, whilst there are some other group of people who find, who literally get no dopamine from eating healthy food, and instead they get a lot of dopamine from eating junk foods, right? So, like, is it the healthy foods that inherently contains dopamine, or it is simply their own perception around those things? You guys need to understand that it's simply their own perception around those things, right? So what you guys need to understand, that dopamine is simply the anticipation or the motivation for getting a reward, for doing a behavior that you will get a reward from, okay. So if I don't see any perceived rewards in watching porn, if I don't see any perceived value in doing those things, am I gonna even get dopamine from it? No. Like, for example, right now, as I debunked the value that I see in PM1 consciously, I debunked pleasure in it, I debunked stress relief in it, I debunked emotional relief in it, I debunked loneliness relief in it, I debunked lust, I debunked each and everything, and I decreased that value that I see in porn unconsciously, right? I debunked those perceived value that I was seeing in watching porn. So now there is no perceived value that I see in it. That means that there are no perceived rewards that I see in it, and because there are no perceived rewards in it, am I gonna even get dopamine from it now? No. You see where I'm getting at? So if you debunk dopamine in it, if you debunk all the perceived benefits that you see in porn unconsciously, you will not even get dopamine from it, right? Because dopamine is simply the anticipation or motivation for doing a behavior that you will get a reward from, right? So that's why I tell you guys to go and eliminate your root cause. Really be very open-minded whenever you are listening to my videos, watching my videos. Listen with a very open mind, okay, and really start questioning your beliefs. So guys, this was a very short brief video about debunking dopamine, and if this video helped you, make sure to leave a like and comment down below, and share this video with your friends who are struggling with porn, because we need to spread the truth as much as possible. And again, if you want to make this process even more easier and effortless, debunk each and every single benefits that you see in porn unconsciously, and really not feel like you want to watch porn anymore, right? So basically debunk, eliminate that root cause once and for all using subconscious transition. Simply click the first link in the description down below, and it will take you to my free masterclass, and then you can simply schedule a call with me, and we're gonna discuss the process of our coaching with you. Take care for now. Assalamu alaikum.